because I make it available to people afterwards as a recording, and there are one or two people who couldn't come who will watch the recording. So welcome today. This is the Inspiring Drama Teacher Meeting, and I'm David Farmer. So we have quite a few regulars, but we have quite a few. We are excited to welcome quite a few new people.
Yeah.
And this is
Oh,
all due to the fact that I sent out the invite to my entire mailing list by mistake. Um,
oh no.
but like
Sorry.
many mistakes, they can be wonderful. So it's really great to see lots of new people. Those
Yeah.
those who have just arrived, I am asking people if they can to switch on their camera. If they prefer not to or they're busy, then that's fine. But with this kind of session, it's always really good to see people and to interact. So I do tend to run these sessions on a bit of a wish. And so my main thrust today is that I've just been teaching for a week in an international school in
Oh,
Amsterdam.
oh yes.
I was teaching 3 or 4 different year groups and
Wow.
trying out lots of ideas. So I thought I might share with you some of the things that I tried out. And what we look for in this meeting is a bit of banter, in other words, conversation. And we also try to have at some point maybe a breakout session or two so that people can get to meet each other in small groups. Um,
Do
so,
some act.
um, any questions from anybody? I could tell you that no, Sean, you don't need to exit. It's really exciting to see you too, by the way. Hope you haven't gone, that I'm reading the chat message. Um, what would be really nice, if you can find the chat window, can you type into the chat window? If you haven't told us where you're based, can you type that in next to your name, but also who you teach? So, for example, some people here teach young children and older children and adults. Others teach one or many of them. So just tell us who you teach. It might be a few different groups, or it might be that you just teach early years for language learning. I don't know. But let's just have a look. So Amy in Malaysia teaches grade 8. Himanshu teaches 10 to 13. Romania, Elza teaches adults language. Yasmina is in Prague and she teaches 6 to 11-year-olds. Chiara, 0 to 10. Well, we've never had that one before, but that's impressive. Teaching in the womb or just afterwards is very adventurous. Catherine in Dublin teaches from age 4 up to 18 years. Cornwall, older adults. That's different and great. Mary Whelan Fox, speech and drama to students aged 4 to 18. Istanbul, who's that in Istanbul? We've got a couple we've got Jorg, who's a German person in Istanbul teaching acting students. And we've got Elif, who sounds more Turkish, who's in Istanbul teaching adults. Yan from China teaching grade 5 to 6. Wow, so many. Shan, sorry, school drama, ages 5 to 17. I know you can read this, but it's the only way I can understand it, by reading it aloud. Once a week, Jenny teaches with 8 to 30-year-olds and also has done Zoom meetings with others. Josie in Hong Kong teaches all ages, at the moment primary and some secondary. Anna is in Greece and she's an EFL teacher. Great. So we've got a bit of everything, which is really good, because in my view, most drama techniques and games can be used with virtually any age group with a bit of adaptation. So, any
For sure.
questions, any issues in particular that people would like to discuss? Otherwise, I'm going to launch into some of the things that I've been doing and tell you about them. Right. Josie, could I ask you to be class monitor and
Sure.
tell me if anybody has any questions or anything like that while
Okay.
I go through my notes? That would be really helpful.
All right.
Lovely. So I'm going to tell you what I did in Amsterdam. I was working at an international school for 5 days, and I was teaching grades 2, 3, and 4. And I'm thinking that those are actually equivalent to UK grades 3, 4, and 5. But it was roughly, if I can work it out, let me see, 7 to 10 or 11 years old. That's about it. We did a number of sessions, some of which I used lesson plans from the course, the Inspiring Drama Teacher. So one of my favorite lesson plans that one of our teachers submitted is called Somebody Swallowed Stanley. And it's all about a plastic bag that gets washed out to sea and meets lots of sea creatures. And the whole thing is about raising concerns about the environment. And it does it really well. And that's a really fun lesson. I can talk about that. One that I've never talked about before is a story about a Native American boy. And it's a fictional story, but it's about a boy who is at a new school and is being bullied because of his name. He's called Leaping River, and the other kids haven't met anyone with a name like that before. And that story certainly worked really well too. So that's another one. On the Zoom sessions here, I've sometimes tried out some of my new scripts that I'm developing, and I was happy to use some of those with the students in Amsterdam as well. So one of those was called A Quick Bite, and it's all about a wolf and a pig from the story of the Three Little Pigs, who have moved on since then and are now Hollywood actors. And they meet in a kind of Hollywood lot. And the wolf is now a reformed character. He's completely vegan, doesn't eat pork anymore. But the poor pig is very suspicious about him. So as you can imagine, that's quite an amusing game. I also used my script, The Musicians of Bremen. I also used a story of Funny Bones, and we also looked at The Tempest. So yeah, I think I've covered it. Oh, and also the Minotaur. I've been developing, I've been helping Jan here to develop lesson plans based on Theseus and the Minotaur. And I've done some work on that theme before. And I was happy to try out some of those ideas. So is there any theme that you would like me to talk about in particular that kind of rang a bell with you? Ding dong. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you next then is what worked really well and I was quite surprised at. Okay. So I did a couple of things. Let me see. Yeah, I tried out one thing on the spur of the moment, which everybody here will already know because it's one of the oldest drama games in the book. And because it's so old, I never use it. And I suddenly decided to try it. And it proved to be a massive hit with the kids. I couldn't believe how popular it was. They kept requesting to do it again. So the game is simply Bus Stop. All right.
Oh
So
yeah,
there's
I like
probably
that.
various versions of this, but I'll explain what I did in this game. And I think it is a game that we could play online as well. So I set up 3 chairs together, or a bench, depending on which room I was in, to show a bus stop with a bench where 3 or 4 characters were going to arrive. I had a hat, and in that hat were some names of different characters, and the kids had to come up 3 or 4 at a time, pull out a name, and then simply arrive at the bus stop, ideally without talking, or certainly not in a way that would give away their character. So they should arrive at the bus stop and wait for the bus one by one. And I told them when to come in. And we had things like a rock star, an escaped prisoner, a business person, the president of the United States, and many more random characters. And the kids absolutely adored not only playing the characters, but also trying to guess who the others were. So first of all, I'm going to stop talking because I have been doing so for a long time, and ask you to put your thumb up or to say something if you've used a version of this game before. Okay, all right. Maybe Himanshu or Josie, could you tell us any of your experiences of using that, or and Amy as well? Anything you'd like to add before I go?
Yeah, thank you, Josie. So actually, I've done something the opposite, which is called the character bus, where different characters get onto a bus,
Yeah.
and then it becomes very hilarious to a point that I tell them to interact, not interact, then interact, and then it becomes a fight. Then and then various kinds of, and then some people sit down on the floor, some people don't get a seat, and 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 also it kind of drives towards a bit of empathetic side, because there's a pregnant woman who gets onto the bus, and
Mm-hmm.
and then how everybody fights to give her a place. Somebody very clumsy, somebody very, so different kinds of habits, different kinds of, so basically a unit on inclusion. Once I was covering and I used this, it really worked very well. So yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah, thanks for that. And I like it. Yes, I have come across that game before, of actually getting on the bus, and you can put rows of seats for the kids to sit in, which obviously means that more of them can take part at once. Josie or Amy, do you want to add anything about your experiences?
I'll just be very short. So what I did is I often combine it with status, and I get them to stand in the bus at the bus stop, and I give them something to do. So somebody will have a newspaper, another person will do something else, and they're fighting to get on the bus first. So, but then they shouldn't actually have a fist fight. They have to sort of use their status to sort of worm themselves to the front, and they love that too. Yeah.
That's great. Amy,
It's very
would you like
simple.
to add anything?
So I teach the older students that sometimes I feel that they very much get into, I don't know how to do this. So we didn't play bus stop, but we played come for dinner or something, dinner party. And then you give each student who's in the scene a character, and then they have to throughout the dinner party have like, if they Father Christmas, say things like ho ho ho, I would love a coffee or whatever, and then you've got to try and guess who the character is. So some students get into it, and some are going, I don't know how to be a granny or something like that. So that can sometimes be challenging.
Yeah, no, I like that idea very much, too. And I think I've seen similar versions of that on the TV, improv game. Forget the name of that. Anyone remember the name of that program?
Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, I thought that was it. Yeah, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah,
Um,
because we did an improv night recently with our seniors, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to do a whose line is it anyway night. But we do a game called Taxi, where you have to where you set up a taxi, and then you have to come in with a different emotion, and then the whole taxi changes into that emotion, so the driver as well. So that's quite good. They like that as well.
Okay.
Love it, love it.
And
Himanshu's got his hand in the air.
yeah, I just wanted to add to what Josie and Amy said, because talking about senior school, like high school, I've used this exercise to explore Augusta Wall, and power and in community issues. So it worked very well there also. Like I mean, so Josie said, when maybe they can have different statuses or different power, different
Yes.
levels in society, and
Mm.
they can get onto a bus. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
It sounds like it's a game that has many possibilities.
Mm.
The reason I was playing it was that I was using it as a lead in to working on scripts. And I also combined it with some movement work as well. So we were looking at something that I've often talked about on these meetings before, which is Laban movement. So looking at ways of moving fast or slow, heavy or light, direct or indirect, exploring different qualities. And that's something else that I combined. And
That's
in
good.
particular, sorry, we'll take some comments and questions in a minute, but I just wanted to say that the other thing that I did with Bus Stop was in one of the scripts, there are two characters. One is a wolf and one is a pig. Okay. And a lot of kids, if they don't know otherwise, will normally just play animals on all fours. And they will run around as animals. And it doesn't really help if actually these are characters who have got animal qualities. So I was explaining to the kids, and they were quite young, sort of like 8 years old, that what I wanted them to do was to be a human, but to have some qualities of the animal. So I demonstrated for them, by being a bit snake-like or something like this, trying a couple of different animals. So the other version we played was I basically ask the kids who are arriving at the bus stop to choose an animal in their head, and then the rest of us had to watch as they came in. And I've played it since then with some teacher training students, and I put the names in a hat that they had to pull out. But that was also really hilarious. If you've got like a wolf, a monkey, and a fish at the same bus stop, it can be very funny. And I think the great thing that I've learned from today is the idea of adding props, adding status. I'd love to try the idea of getting on the bus as well. And it reminds me, there is another game called Emotion Bus, I think, that is a little bit like that. And I think that when somebody new gets on the bus, they bring a different emotion, and then everybody else on the bus gets infected by that emotion. So they might all be crying, but somebody gets on who's really happy or whatever, or laughing, and everybody else, has to change their behavior. So yes, any more comments on that? Right. Oh yes, Amy.
Sorry, about the emotion bus, are they supposed to be in a character? So do you give them a character and then they get on, or is it just the emotion?
I think it's well, personally, I think you could try it either way. I think a simple version would be to not worry about the character. So that might be a way to start off, just so that they get the idea. And you can have a hat or box or whatever with some different emotions that they pick out just as they get on the bus. And that could be quite nice, because then partly those passengers on the bus have to guess what the new emotion is rather than being told. Has anyone played that version of the game before? Okay, I've certainly got a copy of it in one of my books somewhere, I know.
Emotion.
So I was thinking we could actually play this game. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to put people into breakout rooms. If anybody doesn't want to be in a breakout room, perhaps they could let me know in the chat. And I'll try not to put them in a breakout room, or I'll mix people up so that everybody can have a go. So can you help me out here? Because I've been talking and I can't think very well at the same time that I talk. But I'm thinking that we could go into breakout rooms of about 4 people and work out a version of this game. Can anyone think how we could do this? I mean, you could kind of like, I haven't really, it's a bit complicated for me to send characters to everybody individually, but is there a way you could do it in your individual breakout rooms? What do you think?
So you mean mini buses in different breakout rooms?
So, sorry, could you repeat that?
It would be like a mini bus in every breakout room, like a small
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, it could be. Or I mean, we could have bigger breakout rooms. We could have kind of one big breakout room here. Maybe that would one big room here and one big bus.
How about everybody chooses a character by themselves,
Yeah.
and then have to guess each other's character. So you
Mhm.
don't give each other a character, but
Yeah.
everybody chooses one random character by
Yeah.
themselves.
I think that would work because that would also work with animals as well. So we could have a round with characters, and we could also have a round with animals. Himanshu?
Or we could decide what kind of driver is there in every bus, and that decides the mood of the bus and the tone of the characters. So we have a very rude driver, or we have a very calm, peaceful driver, or we have a very mathematical or calculated driver, very money-minded driver. Like
Yeah.
different kinds of driver, and then the scene drama that happens based on what the position the driver has.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you lot have been talking, it's given me a chance to think about how to organize this. So what I'm going to do is to put you into 3 breakout rooms, I think, because I think this would be quite overawing to do it with the whole group and noisy. And I think it would be not easy to do on Zoom. So if I put people into breakout rooms, what I want you to do, you've got so many options now, is to decide in your group what you're going to try. And I'm going to give you, let's say 7 minutes to try something out. Maybe you try out a couple of things, and then you can come back and share some of your experiences with the main group. Okay, so that way we might actually come up with some more ideas. Anybody want to add to that, or think of anything I haven't thought of? Okay, Josie, if you could keep an eye on the chat, because I haven't got
Okay.
time to read it right now, and I'm going to create. Let's see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Oslo cut.
15, 20 odd. So let's try 4 breakout rooms, because I think then people will have more of a chance for everybody to talk. So let's see how we go. Okay.
On the bus.
On
We
the
are
bus.
developing what
Oh,
might
just
happen
just
between
right
us.
on time. We were just wondering, we have found our characters, introduced ourselves, and now what? That's what we were asking.
Okay.
Was it?
Well, have you told each other what the characters are?
No.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay, so
Yes.
then I think you need to get on the bus and start interacting, basically.
We're on the bus.
Okay.
Young man. We're on the bus, young man. And we're
Okay.
talking to each
Um,
other.
Then you need to act. I think the only way I can think of doing it at the moment is that people could switch off their cameras like this, and then one by one, people arrive on the bus
Right.
and they try and be their character. They try and act out something about their character that, you know, gives us a bit of a clue. And then a second person gets on the bus. They could interact with that first character. Do you see what I mean? And
Yes.
gradually build it up.
I think we were doing a bit of that, but with the faces
Yeah.
for some of
And
think
I kind of revealed my characteristic. So do I choose another one or go on with the same?
I think it's up to you.
Okay.
But some characters might be quite subtle, so it might be hard to show. But when other passengers get on, you could think about how you might talk to them or interact with them to show more about your character.
Okay.
So I can see two people on the bus at the moment. So one of you needs to switch off your camera. That's it. So Gillian, you're the first person on the bus.
Oh, that's nice. I can take up lots of room for my sleep.
Okay, now you're the group, so one of you has got to switch on your camera next.
Sleep, sleep, everybody sleeping here.
Well, there's only me. If you don't like it, go and sit down the other end.
Okay, I'm going.
Okay, we need someone else.
I don't suppose anyone has a carrot on this bus, do they?
No carrots here.
Oh, come on. You have taken all the space to yourself. Just make a little space.
Oh,
And enough with those carrots. Enough.
But it's the only thing I like to eat. I don't ask for very much.
well, perhaps the bus isn't the best place to ask for it. We're not your kind of family. That
It was just a question.
Well, think of another one.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because I think the improvisation has kind of come to an end, a suitable place to stop it.
Okay.
So I would say we now need to discuss whether we think that worked and how we could improve it.
I think having a clear structure.
Yeah, I would ask what's our goal? To make an improvisation as long as it takes. I don't know what the goal is.
Okay, so what is missing right now is an audience. All right. If an audience was watching this, then you would now say to them, can you guess what characters we were and why we were behaving like that? So I would say the goal is to be able to portray different characters and to interact with each other.
So we have to speak and go on and just imagine
I would say so, yeah.
situations.
I mean, just think if
Okay.
we were doing this in a studio together, you know, how would you do it then? You would continue talking to each other. The
Mhm.
problem here, of course, is that on Zoom, it's very
Mm.
difficult to take it in turns to
Mhm.
speak. But
Exactly. So I think we would need rules in the beginning about switching on and off the scene, and the second thing is that the only rule we got was 7 minutes, so that's all. Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't talk about anything else, and
no,
it was hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's fine. In fact, I am going to close the breakout rooms and find out how everybody got on. Because this is fine. This was the task really, to see what we could do in that time. So we've done something, and I'll see you back in the main room. If I can work out how to do that. Yeah. Hello and welcome back. And we will just hold on until a few more people arrive. I did manage to visit one of the rooms, and we had some success, limited success, I would say, but we did achieve a little bus journey. So it would be interesting to see how well other groups got on. So let me just do a bit of admin here. Right, see what's going on here. Okay, so I'm going to ask room 3 how they got on. Have they got something to show us? That room was Anna, Chiara, Himanshu, Jorg, and Yanzu. So maybe anybody from that group, tell us how you got on. Jan, did you manage to achieve something in the 7 or so minutes?
Yeah, actually, we talked about a lot of great ideas here. And first of all, we all agree that if we set up this game for the kids or the learners, maybe probably setting up a context for them could be a good idea. So because in that case, we could narrow the guessing for the kids. Otherwise, it could be quite challenging for them to pick up the correct answer. So for example, if we take animals as a theme, if we say, oh, these animals or come from jungle, so they will probably have a brief idea to focus on a specific vocabulary or the characters.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Adults obviously would be able to be more flexible, but younger kids, I like the idea of narrowing the choice of characters. I mean, the other thing, just following on from what you said there, a really useful way to apply this would be to use it with a story that you were working on, a story or a play. So, you know, if you're working on a play and you've got a group of characters that the kids or students are already developing, then you're simply putting them in a different situation. And that could be really fun.
Yeah.
And so, for example, and I'm just thinking on my feet here, but let's say that the story was Red Riding Hood, just because most of us will know all the characters and what the story is. Let's say that Red Riding Hood, the wolf, the hunter, mum, and grandpa were getting on the bus. You could give them context, like they were all going shopping together, or they had all decided to drive out for the day in a minibus, but nobody had really said where they were going to go, and they'd got to try and decide where they were going to go. Are they going to go to a theme park? Are they going to visit the zoo? So yeah, that's just building on what you've said, Jan.
Yeah, yes,
That
yes,
could be quite fun.
yes.
Yeah. Let's have a look at another group then who I didn't manage to
I'd
see.
like to add
Oh, yeah.
something. Yeah, so we also discussed one thing that if the unit that we are working on is on community building or communities in general, we could also have different kinds of families stepping into the bus. You know, like groups of 3 or 4. Now they could come from different contexts. They could come from different backgrounds. They could have different objectives. So yeah, just one way.
No, that's nice too. That's really nice. Yeah, that's kind of like a slightly more complex version of it. But, you know, complex can be good, and it just needs to be structured in the right way. Because if you gave the students some time to develop the families first before they started to meet other families, that could work really well. Yeah. How about room 4, where we had Asif, Eliza, Mary, Oslem, and Shan? Would any of those people like to tell us how you got on, please?
Okay, in our room, we discussed a lot about teenagers and just kids in general and where they are kind of post-pandemic, and that we found that for the younger kids, it's more advisable to give them the characters before they get on the bus. And that the older they are, we find teenagers are very incy in themselves and not inclined to, so they need a bit of encouragement. So we suggested that, you know, sometimes if you've somebody who's not good at vocalizing, that they could actually be the bus driver, and they're the one who decides who gets on and off the bus. If things aren't going right, that they can decide to take somebody off the bus at the next bus stop and somebody else comes on.
Oh, that's fun.
But one of the things we decided there was that the people, we made a little charades out of it, that you mind who you are when you got on the bus. So the others had to guess, so the other students in the class had to guess who you are on the bus. So for example, you could have been an old lady, you could have been a teenager playing out all the music, you know, and doing your own thing and not being conscious of anyone around you. Or you could have been the snotty lady who, oh my God, my car broke down, I have to take the public bus. And so, but then I get them to improvise in the middle of all of that, staying in their character, oblivious to everybody else. So that the snotty lady would be giving out about having to be on public transport, the little old dear is giving out about how people are so inconsiderate, and the other person is doing their own thing. You know, will I ever get to, don't be annoying me. So it can just go, let it take its own legs. But we had a suggestion about using an air balloon as well. And the idea there was that somebody, there's one too many on it and somebody has to get off. So you're up in the air and who's getting thrown overboard. So a bit like the don't take me, why do you deserve to stay on it?
Excellent. Yes, I've come across that hot air balloon game before. I think there actually used to be a radio program on Radio 4 where they had that at one time. But yeah, that's a popular kind of debating mechanism, but that would work well for characters as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and just to add, the interesting thing with the hot air balloon was that, I mean, we do it in class, but we do it like a sort of like a speech to the rest of the class as to why they should live. But what the idea that came up when we were in the breakout was that everyone discussed amongst themselves, and then the audience voted based on the discussion that was internal to the hot air balloon. So it was quite interesting for character development. Yeah,
excellent. Thank you. I couldn't tell then whether Lucia was waving to say something. Or you just gesticulating?
It was great, guys, but we have class. We have to leave.
Okay.
Oh, what a shame.
All right. Well, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, David. And thanks everybody else for having us in the room rehearsing the bus. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was fun, yeah. Bye.
Lovely. Well, we've still got.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
For those of you who are still here, we've still got just under 15 minutes left. So there's still time for more. We usually do 1 hour and then finish. But I haven't asked room 2 or room 1 yet. So room 2, for some reason, there seem to be only 3 people there. Is that right?
Because Lucia and Patricia just left.
Oh, yeah. I see. They were in. Thank you
Yeah.
for keeping me informed of that. That's what I need. So what about Amy, Elif, and PC, whose name I don't know?
No, it's just Amy. Oh, as Elif, Amy, and myself. That's it. Us.
Okay. So tell me what happened, please.
Do you want me to tell them? Okay, so
Go for it.
So Patricia was the bus driver, and then we all chose a character. But unfortunately, we sort of were a bit too obvious about who we were, so it wasn't very difficult to guess. But it was still a lot of fun. And she was quite a mouthy sort of bus driver. Amy was a teenager taking photos, selfies of her and the driver and everybody. I was supposed to be a dentist, and Elif was an artist. And Lucia was somebody visiting the holy waters and going to talk to spirits. It was very funny.
That sounds. Did everybody choose their own character secretly?
Yeah.
You said that your characters were obvious, and so it was over quickly. But to me, they don't sound obvious.
No, but we were.
I'm just wondering, how did you show yourself to be a dentist on the bus?
I think I gave it away, but somebody was saying I'm pulling this. I said, well, all I do is pulling teeth.
I see. Right. So you had a good conversation and you were able to guess in that way.
It was silly. Yeah,
it sounds pretty fun. I did manage to visit room 1. Jenny, would you like to tell us a little bit about what happened? That would be really helpful.
Well, when we all went into the room, one of us had already decided that they wanted to be an animal, so that was kind of like what we decided that we would all do. So we all thought about what kind of animal we would be, and then just started improvising. But yeah, and then when you came, I think we made it onto a bus, and then because we weren't on a bus before you came in, so then we kind of managed to get us back onto a routine and get us on the bus. But yeah.
What would be really nice is if you could be your animals now for us to guess. That would be really good if we could do that.
Can I just
do that for me?
Water? Just want to get some water.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who was first. I think it was Gillian that was first on the bus. Is that right? Yeah.
And who was second after Gillian?
I think it was Gillian, then Jasmina, then me, then Angeliki, if that's I'm saying your name right.
Yes.
And then it was me, but I'm sure there was someone else in our room who just didn't get on the bus.
Okay. Well, look, you've got all those people here. So why don't I know we hardly did anything, but it'd be really nice to play it again and to stay in character for, half a minute. So people got on one by one. So I guess we could try it again, that those people in that group switch off their cameras and then one by one get onto the bus. And once they've all got on, we'll try and guess what animal characters they were.
Should we turn off our cameras as well?
We could turn our cameras off and maybe turn our microphone.
Yeah, mute. Yeah.
Okay, off you go.
Oh,
Gillian, we need to see your camera.
Oh, right. Sorry. There we go. Oh, good. Lots of space to have a lovely sleep.
Sleep. What kind of a bath is this?
Can you move a bit, please? You're coming too close.
I'm going. I'm going.
Oh, jolly good. Oh.
Excuse me, does anyone have a carrot?
What?
A carrot?
Don't be ridiculous.
No carrots, no chocolates.
Oh, enough with those carrots. Enough. I'm sick and tired of hearing you. And there's not enough space. Please, can you make some space? Oh,
I'm trying to have a sleep. Go away.
I can't fit my feathers in here, and they are so glorious, so beautiful, so shiny.
They are actually. They are jolly good. I think you look fab.
My tail's going to get squished in a minute.
Tails and carrots and feathers. I don't understand things. I'm going.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's right. It was about time. Now we have more space for ourselves. Anyone else wants to get out?
No, I rather like looking at you, I have to say. You're going to give me
those feathers are so shiny. Oh, that's...
Okay, then. Well done, bus people. I think we can switch our cameras on. And would anyone like to guess what animals were there? They were great fun.
I think Gillian was a sloth.
Yeah.
Breed.
Oh, wow. I got it right. Okay. Angeliki, were you a partridge?
No, I don't know what
A
part.
peacock, maybe.
Yes.
Peacock.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
peacock.
Peacock, yes.
I was an arrogant peacock.
Peacock, yes.
Come on, what was Jenny with her carrots?
Rabbit.
A rabbit.
Okay. And what about was it Yasmina? Was on
Yes, yes, but all the hissing gave me away, I think.
Oh, you were a hissing snake.
Okay, I was wondering. I wasn't too sure.
Was that everybody? Yeah. Oh, well, that was great.
Funny.
I mean,
That's
you know,
really good.
that works. I do like the animal character version of it. And obviously for younger kids, but even for older as well. I mean, the younger kids, when I was playing it with them, they were doing things like hopping onto the chairs and so on, because obviously they've got lots of energy and acrobatic skills, which we can't really portray in a Zoom meeting, as most of us are not 8 years old any longer.
No, a bit more than that.
Yeah. So I think we've had a really long discussion about that and hopefully got some ideas that we can take away.
That's really good, yeah.
I will just tell you two more things that I got out of my teaching last week. One of them was, I'm sure you all know what thought tracking is, when people are in a freeze frame and then you tap them on the shoulder or you point to them and they speak their thoughts. You know, that's one of the oldest kind of drama techniques. But I decided to use the magic microphone technique, which is very similar to that. And all you do is you just take anything that's in the shape of a microphone. I used a pencil. I used a red pencil. And I told the kids a story, and it was the story about Somebody Swallowed Stanley, which was about a plastic bag. And then I divided the children into small groups, and they each had to make a freeze frame of part of the story. And in one part of the story, Stanley meets a jellyfish, another one he meets a dolphin, I think, or a whale. He meets some seagulls, and he meets a little boy when he gets washed ashore onto an island. And so what I did is they all did their freeze frames, and then I went round to them one by one with my magic microphone. And what was really nice about it, when you tap children on the shoulder, they don't always really know what to say. They might say, oh, I feel scared, or I'm happy, or I want to swim, or whatever. But you can really encourage them if you've got a microphone. And they love the whole thing of, so what I did, I turned into a David Attenborough kind of character. It just kind of evolved because I was underwater. So I was saying, oh, well, here I am. I'm 20 fathoms down in the ocean, and I've found some creatures here. I'm not quite sure what they are, so I'm going to go over to them and find out a bit more about them. So could you tell me who you are? And the whole thing of just pointing a microphone, a pretend microphone at people, little kids, could work with older ones too, really worked well. And because they knew when they had to talk, and because I was in role, it made it easier for them to be in role as well. And so, you know, if one of them said, oh, I'm a jellyfish and I'm wondering what this colorful thing is in front of me, then I could go to another character and say, well, who are you? I can see that you're very colorful, but you're not like any creatures that I've seen in the sea before. And then hand over the microphone. They say, well, I'm Stanley. I'm a plastic bag. So I wanted to share that. It's so simple. Has anybody used it before? No. Okay. Well, magic microphone, young kids really like the idea of something being magic. They liked the idea of the microphone, and they also really picked up on this idea of it was a bit like a TV program. And then you could say, right, well, thank you very much. I'm going to swim over here to this part of the sea now and find out what's happening here in this part of the story. So yeah, I really like that. And I'm definitely going to use it again in lots of other contexts. It's really great.
We
and
do
then
something similar with we do something similar with buzzy bees. So I don't know whether you all know how to play buzzy bees, but when you go around and ask the young people what they are, so we kind of like say, what are you, that kind of thing, when they're all frozen in an image.
I know what you mean. That's the game where you call out a letter of the alphabet, and people have to make the shape of an object beginning with that letter.
Okay.
And if anybody makes the same shape as somebody else, they have to sit out. So if you say A and you find out there's 2 apples, then they have to sit out, and then they don't play in the next round. Yeah, so they make the shape. They make the shapes. So that's quite a fun game. And in between, the reason it's called Buzzy Bees is that you get them, you say, right, I want you to move around the room as a buzzy bee. So everyone goes while they walk around. For some reason, it's really fun. I adapt that a bit by calling out different animals. And so I might say, you know, move around as pigs or horses or whatever. Okay, well, it is an hour now. So I haven't got much time to share anything else, but any final comments or questions? Catherine is waving her hand at me.
I'd just like to share that I actually have used the microphone technique, and something it's great to use very familiar stories, even like Red Riding Hood. It's an absolutely great one, because then you can go up and it's almost like a reporter. So you could be Red Riding Hood's friend, chatting to her about what happened yesterday and did you hear about it? And what I find is, because they know the story, it really encourages the shyer ones to share. It doesn't make it as difficult. They have the nucleus of the story there, so it's easier for them then to articulate what they want to say. Equally, it could be the wolf or the wolf's wife or whatever you want to, you know. So you could go into all sorts of things. We've done it where there's the children belonging or the wolf's children, cubs, and how they can't find their daddy and it's missing. It can lead to all sorts of tangents. You can nearly get 3 weeks out of a story like that when you start doing the interviewing technique.
And also, the great thing about these techniques that I often forget is that you should get the children to do it. So, you know, once you've demonstrated how to use the magic microphone, you can nominate different children. Can you be the wolf's wife or whoever it is? And they can take turns in actually being the one who asks questions and interviews characters. It's really good practice for them.
Yes.
Sorry, David, how do you use that bzz sound again? Is it a game?
How do you use what? Sorry,
That bzz that you were doing?
Fuzzy
So-
bee.
that's
If you
Fuzzy
were a
bee.
bee, if you were supposed to be a bee.
yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
I thought it was a game. Okay, thank you.
yeah, the buzzing bee game. Yeah. Okay, well, look, I'm going to finish the session there. And I must say, it was one of the most fun sessions we've had because we had so many people. Normally, we just have people who are have paid for and joined the Inspiring Drama Teacher course. We have these every month. But from now on, I'm definitely going to, every now and again, invite everybody because it was so much fun. And so many people had ideas to share from different countries, cultures, and practices.
I agree.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David.
Thank you, David.
And if you want to see the video, you can best if you email me and then I can let you know. But I'll probably send it out. I'll probably send out a quick newsletter with a link to it so you can watch it. Okay.
Great. Lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thanks very much and bye for now.
Bye.